That's right, everybody. The Class 1B Hypu continues. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly My Hero Academia Season 5 discussion videos. Today we're here to talk about Episode 5, Operation New Improv Moves. But before we get into the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AnyTube know that you're here. And before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and set a like goal. That's right, we're doing like goals now. If you want to see the next episode of My Hero Academia covered here on the channel, I'm gonna need something from you. I'm gonna need 50 likes. Sure, 50 likes in the first day, or we're never coming back. Mind you, I feel like you guys usually do that relatively quickly, but hey, 50 likes or no video next week. That's 50 likes. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's start with Kendo. I want to start by doing the character design stuff first, because honestly, it's the character design stuff. It's slowly becoming like my favorite thing. So I wanted to start with Kendo. Kendo as a character, I've always really enjoyed. When it comes to Class 1B, obviously my favorite is Monoma. But I also really love Kendo, and I really like Tetsu as well. And now I gotta say, like, I'm a big fan of, like, a lot of the characters. Like, Ibarra's super cool. I hope that we get to see more from her soon. We do see, like, her for a second here, but it's not crazy long. But yeah, Class 1B is really starting to shine this week. And not only that, like, the last few weeks. Especially Shihai. Love that dude. We'll get to him in a bit. But Kendo has always been my girl. Like, since we saw Kendo and Tetsu like fight back against the League of Villains a while ago, like during like the training camp, I always thought she was super cool. I love her dynamic with Monoma, but also her sort of like rivalry with Momo, I think is relatively interesting, right? Because I really like Momo as a character. I don't know if we've really talked about it in these videos, but how can you not? A, Momo's design, but also B, Momo's just a cool character, like, in general. Like, I like her attitude. She's sort of, like, really smart, but also kind of aloof in funny areas, and she genuinely is, like, trying to be a pro hero with the same earnestness of, say, a character like Deku, right? Like, she genuinely likes the idea of being a hero. And also her relationship with Jiro is super friggin' cute. Also Todoroki, I ship both. I don't care where Momo ends up, because both are good to me. But her dynamic with Kendo, this is a ship that I can really get down with. Kendo and Momo. Nobody ever talks about Kendo Momo, but Kendo Momo, it's kind of fire. And Kendo as a character, I think her competitive nature with Momo, like her starting to say, like, you know, I don't really like that people keep putting us in the same box. And of course Momo's like, put us in the same box. Like, she's like, again, because it's like she's kind of aloof on certain things, which is funny, right? Because she's like, what does that mean? And yeah, I thought that was really, really funny. But the idea that Kendo feels sort of trapped in Momo's shadow is sort of how a lot of the Class 1B kids likely feel. They're sort of stuck in Class 1A's shadow, because Class 1A is the ones who keeps ending up in the news. You know, stuff keeps happening to Class 1A, whereas Class 1B is just actually, you know, trying to study in their hero academia. But I can really see it with Kendo, since Kendo and Momo both went to the same work study. So they both, or was it a work study, or was it just like, I don't remember what it was. It was like a co-op type thing. And they were both with the one dragon lady, or not dragon lady, snake hero. And they did like the commercial together, right? So when people were cheering for them during the school festival, they were cheering Momo and Kendo, not just Kendo, or not just Momo. It was Momo and Kendo. And Kendo's getting kind of sick of it, right? And it's funny too, because even here, she's serving in the same sort of role that Momo is, right? Like, Momo is sort of the class, or not the class leader, but the group's leader here in this, like, Class 1A versus Class 1B round 2, right? Like, we see that Momo is sort of serving as the current group's leader. And obviously the same goes for Kendo. Kendo's the one in charge of the current group of 4. And so it almost serves as a sort of like, screw you, I'm better type of situation, right? Where Kendo's like, I'm going to prove that I'm stronger. Because Kendo says, like, how come you didn't enter the beauty pageant? Like, I was surprised you didn't join. Like, you probably could have gotten really far. But Momo just says, like, oh, you know, like, I didn't know about it. I guess Aizawa Sensei didn't really deem it as important. And Kendo's like, cool. So I guess being pretty is not important. But that's another thing about Kendo. Kendo and Kugisaki from Jujutsu Kaisen would get along fabulously. Because Kendo as a character, and like let's like start digging into her character design, right? Kendo's design screams like pretty but powerful. Right? Because we see Kendo's like main outfit is this sort of turquoised kipao with like a yellow trim. And I might be mispronouncing that. And when I looked it up, there is a different name for it as well, but I know it as like a kipao. And we've seen this, the last time I saw this in an anime-ish type thing was probably in Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's one of the outfits that Tifa can end up in. I ended up with Tifa in the kipao. And she looked fantastic. And Kendo also looks sick. I like this particular version of her outfit, like the winter one. I think it actually suits her a lot better. It feels more like, sort of like, how do I put this? Like it like the sleeves sort of give way to this sort of like wavy motion when if she went to like move her hands. It would sort of look like an old kung fu film where like the clothes are really baggy and they move like what do you call it? Like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type thing, where like the clothes move with like absolute grace in the same way that the characters on screen are moving with grace. And with Kendo, we know that she's a martial artist, right? So her moves would look sick with these long sleeves and this like longer kipao. I think it's a really, really cool update to her already typical hero outfit. I like the winter outfit for her a lot better. The longer flow kind of works for her, right? Because it's pretty and elegant, but at the same time it's badass and like it moves with grace, right? Like but like a swiftness. It's cool. I think it really fits Kendo, this character who we've known is sort of like, she's pretty, like she's super pretty, but she's also like a badass, and that's sort of what makes her even more pretty. Y'all know around here that we like women who can kick our ass, and Kendo is certainly one of them. But also like she has like this sort of corset, right? So it shows like she cares, like you know, she wants to look good, right? So the corset sort of helps with that, but it's still like I don't know how I feel about the corset. I'm of two minds with the corset, right? On one hand, I get it because it's like, again, it's the whole element of Kendo's design where she's badass, but she also wants to be pretty in the same way Kugisaki's like, I can be pretty and powerful, right? Like that's Kendo, like I can be pretty and powerful. But I almost wonder if the corset would get in the way, right? Because it's like, it sort of limits you, right? It's tight. But you know what? If that's what she wants to rock with, that's what she wants to rock with. She's pretty and powerful, and if that's what she wants to wear, that's what she wants to wear. So again, I think the kipao mixed with the corset, it's a sick look for a sick character. But when it comes to the colors, you guys know we like to talk colors around here. And color-wise, it's a turquoise kipao with the yellow trim. So turquoise as a color, we don't see turquoise used enough in design as far as I'm concerned. Turquoise and also teal, which we'll get to in a bit for Kendo. Those are two colors we don't see a lot, and they're both used in Kendo's design, which I think is super cool. But turquoise as a color, it typically brings like this sort of like peace and stability. It's a sort of unknown, mysterious-ish color. It's not like mysterious in the same way purple's mysterious, but it's sort of this like stable color. And I think that makes sense given what she's doing, right? She's a hero. So she would want colors that sort of give off a vibe, right? Colors impact people, right? Like colors affect you even if you're not aware that they're doing it. Colors in like it's why color design is so important. People overlook color design often, but colors actually do affect you in ways that you might not be assuming because it's subconscious. And so with a turquoise outfit, like a turquoise hero outfit, it sort of brings this stability, this sense of peace. Like when Kendo arrives on the scene, you feel sort of at ease. You feel peaceful because you know she's about to whoopeth some villain ass. So like that's why her kipao is turquoise. Also, it's just a cool color. Never forget that sometimes shit just looks cool on a character design. It doesn't have to mean anything. But in this case, I really do feel like it is a conscious choice by Kendo to sort of bring peace and stability when she arrives on the scene. And the yellow, I think, is just meant to show this sort of energetic and perceptive side to Kendo. Kendo, it sort of is outlining her character, right? This energetic but perceptive side of herself. This side of herself that's like, yeah, I'm pretty and I'm strong, but I'm also really smart, right? The yellow trim to the Kipao, to me, indicates like just like a slight nod towards her more perceptive nature, right? And her whole design just screams optimism. It screams hero, funny enough. Like even like the orange hair, right? Kendo rocking the orange hair, and orange as a color typically indicates a sort of optimistic and uplifting type of personality. And I think that like the fact that it's that paired with the turquoise in the design, they just pop together. Like it's a really good combo, I think. And yeah, optimism, uplifting, like that matches Kendo to a T, right? She is optimistic. She is like the one who's like, we're gonna do this, right? Like she's like leading the charge of her, not just this group of heroes, but all of Class 1B. She's the class rep, right? So she is optimistic and she is uplifting, and she does put Monoma in his place when she needs to, but she still feels this, like, you can tell that she is uplifting Class 1B, right? She is like this sort of, we see it when Tetsu is like raving about her, about how great she is. She really does lift up Class 1B. She is like their optimism, you know, she's their light. And I think you can see that both like in the character design, like when it comes to the hair, but also the teal eyes, right? Again, if the eyes are the window to the soul, they tell you a lot about a character depending on the color. And I think teal, again, another color we don't see often in other character designs, it's a sort of moral and supporting and calming color. Teal is one of those colors you see often. There's a reason why you see it often in homes, right? Like usually when you walk into a room can be anything from like white walls to beige to light blue to teal. Those are the colors you often see because they typically sort of give a sort of supporting and calming vibe, right? Brown or brown and beige are, well, not so much brown, but more so beige is a sort of has a calming effect on people. Same with light blue, right? Most light colors have a sort of calming effect on people, but teal in particular has a calming but moral type of feel to it. And what do I mean? Like when I say moral, I mean that like teal is typically associated with like moral characters, like beings of like morality. And that makes a lot of sense given Kendo, right? Like Kendo is a hero, right? And we can see that. So right, like looking into her eyes, the window to the soul, total pure moral character and supportive and calming. But the thing with teal is that it can also represent a sort of uneasiness, right? The inverse of the color is a sort of uneasiness. Something about teal, while yes, it's calming and supportive, there's something about it that's sort of unknown because we don't see it often. So it does sort of give off this slight uneasiness, right? Depending on the character. And I wouldn't normally put this to Kendo, this sort of uneasy vibe, but I almost wonder if that uneasiness is sort of like that teal in the eyes is almost meant to show a sort of uneasiness, right? Because we see her say she doesn't really like being in Momo's shadow. Maybe she might feel sort of uneasy, this idea of being compared to Class 1A all the time, this idea of being compared to Momo all the time. That might actually make her uneasy, thus the teal in the eyes making a lot more sense. But the other character that I want to talk about this week, I want to talk about Shihai. I love this shithead. I love this dude. So Shihai, his design is super sick. We'll get into it in a second, but I also want to bring up a little bit of wiki research that I did. By research, I mean I just perused the My Hero wiki, and I went to the trivia section, and because I thought that Vanta Dark was an interesting name, right? I was like, Vanta Dark, what a cool name. Turns out, no, it's not actually Vanta Dark. It is Vanta Black, but it can't be called Vanta Black for the same reason that you can't call a lot of the JoJo stands, like you can't call Sticky Fingers Sticky Fingers. Sticky Fingers! In JoJo's, when it gets subbed, it turns into Zipperman, because, you know, copyright is a thing. So Vanta Dark, or Vanta Black becomes Vanta Dark, which I thought was kind of funny. But the thing it's in reference to is actually a material that sort of eliminates 99% of light. And you've probably seen this before in like an art museum or some sort of like depiction. Like you've probably seen it on YouTube. I remember there was like a really viral video that showed off Vanta Black at one point. And it's just this material that is used in certain pieces where it just eliminates 99% of light coming in. Which yeah, given who Shihai is, given what their hero duties are, like the idea of disappearing into shadow, it makes a hell of a lot of sense. And I love their dynamic with Tokoyami. We will get to it in a sec. But yeah, Shihai definitely fits the idea of Vanta Black, right? He's very much like a dark, sort of edgy boy, you know, who's like all about like the darkness, right? He probably listens to a lot of The Cure, right? Like he listens to a lot of edgy music. Shihai would definitely be like a My Chemical Romance fan, you know what I mean? He's very much into the dark. But there is that 1% of light that does shine through, and that's my boy Aoyama. But when it comes to Shihai, right, his outfit, very, very, like, what you see is what you get, right? But I like that when it comes to Shihai. This is a very simple design that is really striking, right? And as far as I'm concerned, I think Shihai's design is brilliant. I'm not like, I find some designs to be a bit much, right? Some designs go too over the top. Sometimes that's fun, right? Like when you look at like, say, like Azrael Batman, like some designs are like way over the top, and that's kind of what the fun and charm of that design is that it's like over designed. With Shihai, it's like the perfect example of like under designing a character isn't a bad thing, and sometimes less is more. And I really get that with Shihai. I think Shihai's like all black outfit makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's an all black outfit, but it's split up by these white shoes and white wrist braces, right? And the white, I don't think it means a lot when it comes to the character. It does and it doesn't, right? Like it definitely indicates a sort of like coldness to the character because of what we see, how we see them behave. It's not very hero-like. Shihai is almost like a toe into villainy just by their personality, but ultimately they are a good person, right? It's why I like characters like Monoma, because Monoma could easily flip villain, but their heart is pure. They are a good person at the core of their being. And that's the same thing with Shihai. Shihai is a hero. They do feel like justice prevails, right? So that's why they're in the hero course. But their coldness does shine through. They are a sort of, we'll get into it, an icy character, shall we say. But I do think for the most part, when it comes to the outfit itself, the white shoes and white braces are just simply to break up all the black in the character design, right? Because it's a lot of black, which makes sense, you know, because he's all about the shadows, hiding in the shadows. But when it comes to the all black outfit, I think the biggest thing that tells me is that he's an intimidating character, right? Black as a color means a lot of things. It's in a very authoritative color, though I don't see a lot of authority coming from Shihai. What I see coming from Shihai is spooky scary, right? So that intimidating factor. There's a scariness to the dark, right? People, including me, are kind of afraid of the dark, right? Like when you turn off all the lights, I get kind of freaked out because I don't like the idea of not being able to see through the dark, right? You can see through when I say see through, I mean like other colors, you know what they're about, right? But with black, like black is a hard to read color, right? So it has an intimidating factor. You can't see through the dark, right? It's scary. So I think it's definitely meant to give Shihai this intimidating factor, but also this powerful factor, right? Black is a powerful color. Like when you wear all black, be honest, you feel strong, right? You do a quick pose in the mirror when you're wearing like an all black suit. You feel cool, right? Or an all black dress. Like you feel strong. And that's the vibe that Shihai gives. He's intimidating, right? He's a bit spooky, but he's also very strong, right? And like that comes through in the outfit. I think he just looks super sick in general, but it really shines through in his outfit. The white hair and the gray eyes. I think the white hair, as I said, white on the white shoes and white braces. I think it's definitely sort of meant to indicate a coldness, but also like a pure-minded sense of a character, right? Like he's very pure-minded. He has like a one-track mind. He knows what he wants, he's gonna go get it. But he also is cold and might use that pure-mindedness to trick you. He does let Tokoyami think that it's all about Tokoyami, but really, it's to get Aoyama. So I do think that like so he is he knows his goal. He's gonna go achieve it, even though it's very clear he'd rather just fight Tokoyami. He knows what the mission is, and he's got a pure mind about it. Like he's gonna go do the mission. It is what it is. He's a clear cut type of character, right? So that's the white hair. The gray eyes, I think, is meant to indicate a sort of wise and neutral stance, right? The character is very wise. Like, we can see that he is clever enough to trick Tokoyami, or at least trick Momo, because Tokoyami sees right through that shit. But like, he definitely tricked me as well. Like, he is a tricky, wise type of character, right? He knows how to trick somebody, but he's also very neutral, right? Like, he is very much like, when I say neutral, I don't mean like he's a neutral party. I mean like he's neutral in the sense that he's like very calm, right? Like, he's not freaking out. He's just sort of like, he is like engaged with Tokoyami, right? He likes the idea of Tokoyami's dark fallen angel technique. Oh my god, these edgy hedgies. But like, he's also sort of aware that, like, you know, there's a mission to be done. And as much as he wants to entertain Tokoyami, he also is aware that he's got stuff to do. I like that he's to the mission, you know? And also just the whole design of the fact that, like, he's all shadow, right? Like, when we see, like, his skin, it's all shadow. Like, that's super sick. That's just a cool design, right? Because we know that the hero gene, right? Like, that meta gene does affect people and, like, turns them into things, right? So, of course, Shihai can be, like, a friggin' shadow, right? Like, why not? It's just a cool look, and I think Shihai as a character is just super interesting. I like him a lot. Last thing I want to talk about. Tokoyami. I want to talk about my boy Tokoyami. Because his, like, edgy, hedgy kinship with Shihai. When I say edgy, hedgy, by the way, that is a reference to Shadow the Hedgehog. But Tokoyami's, like, edgy boy kinship with Shihai is hilarious. I like that he's like, we are rivals. Relish in the dark. I will see you in the shadows. Right? It's like, oh my god, what is happening? Look at these two Chunibios over here, just being like, yes, I relish the dark. It's so goofy, but I love it. I adore those two being on screen together. I think it's hilarious. And I like that Tokoyami is, like, pushed to the brink with Shihai, right? Tokoyami, especially, like, when Tokoyami, like, takes off the cloak and he's rocking, like, the black short sleeve. I'm like, oh, I forgot Tokoyami kind of built a little bit, right? Like, he's not like he's not swole, but he's lean, you know? It's like, oh yeah, from Tokoyami, I forgot. Yeah, you got them guns, Tokoyami. So that was kind of cool, and I loved the back and forth between the two. But I like that Tokoyami is sort of pushed to the brink by Shihai, right? Like, Shihai might almost came across as more in tune with the dark than our boy Tokoyami, which is like, what about Dark Shadow, right? So it's like, that's kind of crazy, like, because we've known Tokoyami to be an agent of darkness this whole time. So it's kind of interesting to see another character who is the same way and almost best Tokoyami at his own game, right? Tokoyami merely adopted the dark. Shihai was born in it, molded by it. Sorry, I won't continue. But Tokoyami is definitely pushed to that point, right? And I like that we actually get to see him using the training he had with Hawks. So seeing Hawks appear was cool. But, because I love Hawks, right? Who doesn't love Hawks? But Hawks is very much like, he's interested in what's going on with Class 1A, right? He's interested in what's going on with UA. And Tokoyami feels like, I'm not some messenger pigeon, right? Like, which is, you know, again, bird puns. But Tokoyami feels like, I'm not a messenger bird. Like if you wanted to talk about Class 1A, you could have asked anybody else. Screw you, right? And so he spends most of his time chasing after Hawks, and Hawks is sort of, like, dismissive of him. Or so it seems. Because Hawks, like, actually does like Tokoyami. He says, like, I picked you 20% because you're a bird, and then 50% because I wanted to know what's going on with Class 1A. But you know what that other 30% is? I felt like you were wasting your potential. Those who can fly, should fly, right? And so Tokoyami's like, but I can't. And he's like, no, you can fly. You're a bird. You can fly. Right? So Hawks is just like, no. You're one of us. You can fly. So, like, we see Tokoyami starting to sort of adapt some of Hawks' nature into himself, which is great, right? Because I like the idea of Tokoyami being more involved. He should be, right? Like, people love Tokoyami. He's one of those characters who I feel should be as involved as, say, like Todoroki or Bakugo, right? Or Kirishima or Uraraka. A lot of characters are like involved in like what's going on with like the League of Villains, but Tokoyami really should, especially considering how close Hawks is to the League of Villains. Like, I feel like Tokoyami should get more involved. Because I love this friggin' character. Who doesn't like Tokoyami? He's the friggin' man. But I loved that time with Hawks taught him how to use the Dark Fallen Angel technique, which makes Deku go full fanboy, which I love. I love whenever Deku gets to go full fanboy. Like, I know everybody's like, oh, no, Deku does it, he's crying. Like, friggin' the anime, man. But just like people who are like, all Deku does is cry. Like, that's such a dismissive look on Deku. Like, what makes Deku fun is that he's Peter friggin' Parker, right? Like, he's like the MCU version of Peter Parker, which, ironically enough, the MCU version of Peter Parker is actually just Deku. But, like, one came first, that's all I'm saying. But Deku getting, like, excited and geeking out over heroes is like, very much a thing that I love about him, right? And Deku, like, geeking out over Tokoyami, like, using his powers the way that he is really fun. Right, like him being like, oh, that's genius! Like, Tokoyami, like, he's like using the shadow to sort of hover because Dark Shadow hovers. So if he wraps himself with Dark Shadow and he like covers Dark Shadow so that the light doesn't hit him, he can friggin' fly! Tokoyami is genius! Right? It's like, hell yeah! Like, I loved seeing Deku like geek out. It made me very happy, right? Like, cause Tokoyami and Deku would, you know, like, we see them talk a lot and you could tell they're friends, but like, I like whenever you see Deku like show how much he loves Class 1A and how much he like respects his classmates and he loves heroes and he geeks out over powers. Because let's be real, Dark Fallen Angel's a super cool ass power. Like, that's a cool new technique for him to use Dark Shadow to fly. Because, so Dark Shadow is flying, but it frees up Tokoyami's arms. So he's actually able to like use his arms as he's like flying around, right? It's super friggin' sick and I loved it. I think Tokoyami deserves all the credit this week. My boy went in, and it was cool to see him like snatch back Aoyama. But now we got to see how the rest of the fight plays out. But with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video here, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, got to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Man, look at those names. Beautiful names. If you would like to join these people, easiest way is by hitting that Patreon link in the description. For just $1, you can see your name scrolling past the screen here, or you can hit that join button, gets you a badge next to your name and some emotes. Super cool. Either way, super appreciated. Do not forget the like goal. 50 whole likes. Can we do it? Can we do it? 50 likes in a single day? Probably. We could probably do it. I set it low because it's my hero. I know you guys are going to hit it anyway. So, yeah, that's it. Anyway, bye!